Hi everybody and welcome to the Hamptons International Film Festival. We're here at the Maidstone, right on Main Street, and we're going to have interviews with filmmakers. So come on in and join us. All right, I'm here with Matt Creed, who's the director of this wonderful documentary, Mary Heidelman Waves, Roads, and Hallucinations. All three, not just one, you have all three things there. That's great. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
First time at the fair, at the
Yeah, it's the first time
festival?
I've done this festival, yeah.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about the movie. If you want to just give a thumbnail sketch, that would be helpful.
Well, it's a portrait of the artist Mary Hellman, and we started shooting probably 2013, and 2014, and finished just this past summer. And it goes into Mary's, history in the art world. Goes into her kind of influences and the way she navigates the art world, and it's like a very singular portrait. So it's just her.
It's terrific. And she's a remarkable person. She really is. And what influenced her? Because her style is so eclectic.
Yeah. Waves, roads, and hallucinations.
There we go. That's the key right there.
Yeah, she's an abstract painter, but she's influenced by things like sunsets and waves and roads and buildings at night and cars parked from above that kind of become the shapes and forms that her work takes on.
What comes to mind is when Neiman, I think, he used a film camera and he sort of pierced the veil and actually watched Jackson Pollock work. And he had the intriguing thing of having a big piece of plate glass and setting up his, black and white camera, motion picture camera underneath the thing, and he watched them work. And it was very amazing to watch the process and how he undulates and all that. But it also affected him, Pollock, that it actually disturbed that you're an artist and now you as a filmmaker are coming behind the canvas almost,
Yeah, I think that's pretty common with artists and artist documentaries.
How did you overcome that they...
Well, it would be just me, usually filming her.
So she trusted your...
Yeah, and but it definitely, they're aware of the camera, so, and I think it probably has an effect on their process and what they're doing, and it usually does. Like most artists it's kind of something that artists that are in, I think Gerhard Richter talked about it, de Kooning's talked about it, Pollock definitely talked about it in this form. That
Pollock had actually affected him negatively.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably didn't
like it.
Didn't use those works after.
Oh.
I think Richter destroyed all the paintings that were in his film.
It is, because it's a little too close, you know what I mean? But in order for you to film an artist, you more or less have to fall in love with the artist.
Yeah. Well, Mary's easy to fall in love with.
She's a nice woman. She's terrific. But and you became even a bigger fan after shooting her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. You end up saying, "Oh my God, this is so amazing! It's terrific," and all that. And I think, especially in this town, because art is such an integral part of everybody's life. I mean, they have artist studios, and where you live, you say, "Oh, well, that guy down the road is an artist. That guy, In any other part of the country, oh yeah, he works for the post office. He works for whatever. Not that that's not an artistic form, but you know, you have a lot of them here. And within the community, you had the initial was the world premiere here. And when did you have it?
It's tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna. I
It
think,
just, I mean, it made sense to premiere the film here for Mary. Um, she's been, she moved her studio out here, and I think in 1999, 2000,
right, right, right.
and she's been making all of her work here since then.
You know, the thing that comes to mind is, and we've over the years we've interviewed many artists and all, and the thing that comes to mind is that out here, because of the triangular nature of, you have the bay and you have the ocean, the light is
Yeah.
pure white. So if you're looking at, let's say, your shirt, you say, in Brooklyn, oh, it's green, but here you'll actually know the subtleties of the color, the vibrance of the when you look at artwork here, it's very vibrant, and that's what makes artists love to. You know, we live in the Springs, and it's like
Right.
part of our DNA to see the light a
Yeah.
certain way. But it's great that you did this. So, what first of all, what brought you to the project? Did you were friends with the artist?
I had
or-
met the artist through a mutual friend of ours that worked at 303 Gallery, Lisa Spellman's gallery.
Sure.
She's another Long Island transplant. I think that was probably in 2009 or 8. And then we would kind of run into each other at various art events and
Sure.
say hi and talk or whatever. And then she came to a screening of my first film, Lily, back in 2013, and she really liked it. And we started, she said, well, we should do something together.
That's great.
So yeah.
And the rest is history. So right now it is it's a world premiere and documentary feature, USA, 73 minutes, and it's going to be screening tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 11:45.
And if people want to reach you, do you have a website or?
No.
No?
No,
All right,
pretty
that's,
yeah.
that's all right. But through the film festival, they can reach you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you have a distributor?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
We're
Distribution's
talking. Yeah,
open. That's good.
distribution's open.
And your next project, what are you thinking of doing now?
I have like a road film narrative.
Nice.
Yeah, that I'd like to try
And
and
did you
make.
go to film school?
No.
No, you're self-trained.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best, Matt. Matt
Thanks a lot.
Creed, director, filmmaker, and we're proud that you're here. And
Yeah.
thank you very much
Great
for
to be here.
showcasing one of our favorites. Okay, here we are, and we have two wonderful filmmakers here. Avenue of the Giants. I think that in Manhattan, what would that be, the Avenue of the Giants? I think Fifth Avenue, right?
There you go. It's also a place in California where the largest and oldest trees live.
Those big redwoods, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. The sequoia, right?
Yeah.
Is that the name?
Redwoods and sequoias. It's a little more. Redwoods grow closer to the ocean, and it's more of them are redwoods there. But yeah.
And are they in peril? I mean, are they?
They are. They're in peril in certain ways, but kind of in a way, the theme of the movie is they're sort of indestructible in certain ways. They're well over 300 feet tall.
Bug resistant.
Fireproof.
Yeah, but their roots are shallow. The reason they're so hard to kill is all the roots are connected underneath. So you'll see 50 trees, and they're all connected like one family of trees.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
that usually when you plant a tree or you say, well, the root ball of that tree is the same size as the canopy above it.
Yeah.
You know.
This is untrue with redwoods. They don't go deep. They reach out to each other's roots, so they help
So
each
they're a
other stay alive.
social being.
They're a social being. Yes.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
And what brought you to this subject?
So Janine was, maybe we should start, she was friends with Herbert Heller, who is a real person. This film's a true story.
Wow.
Do you want to start it off?
Yeah, I met him in 2014, and I had a grandfather who passed long time ago, but before he was in World War II, and he was taken prisoner of war.
Oh boy.
He was fighting for the U.S., and he was prisoner of war for over a year.
The Germans or the Japanese?
Germans. He was in Austria. And when he came home, he was changed. He really affected
Absolutely.
negatively, and it affected my family. Wonderful person, but he never talked about it. And he died. He told me a little bit about his story, and 2 months later he passed away. And so when I met Herbert, similar, he had held his story for 60 years, and I had heard he had held his story. He told me he loved talking to me, and I loved talking to him. It was almost like spending more time with my grandfather. And for him, it was telling somebody a story who wanted to know and was curious, but was not family. Like, so for Herbert,
Safe.
it was safer. And then I had him speaking at schools. He wanted to talk at schools, and I saw how he affected children. Here's this 88-year-old in front of them, and they're, 13-year-old kids just
Mesmerized.
completely silent. And in my mind, like watching them, it was almost like I could hear them thinking, wow, could I have done this? He's talking about the same age that I am now.
Right.
Could I do this? So we were talking about how this is a film of hope. And I just felt like this needed to be a film. So,
Yeah, great subject, and you did a great job on it. Very proud of you. But and that brought you two together.
Yes, I've been a screenwriter and director for years, and Janine originally approached me to write the screenplay, which involved tons of interviews with Herbert and his family. And again, it attracted me. Not only was a film about a miraculous escape from the Holocaust, from Auschwitz, where 1.3 million were held and 1.1 million killed, but the idea of a man keeping a secret for 60 years, which I would find was not rare, but in fact common. And then, more importantly, that he didn't live his life as a victim at all. He went and used, when he finally came out with a secret and spoke to so many children and changed so many lives.
Sure.
All the most troubled kids would come up to him and he would give them help. And so, he was a real life hero. He wasn't, aside from a superhero on the screen,
No,
he's
he was.
he's the kind of hero you see sitting across from you sometimes.
And those individuals, every day we lose more and more.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Herbert was taken at 12, escaped at 15, and he unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. So even those who are still living tend to be maybe too young to really, at 12 you're really experiencing it in your memory, you can hold what really went on. So there are very few left, very few.
Yeah, it's amazing. The Spielberg has a Shoah project that he has, and at the time that it's maybe over 25 years he's been doing it. And those stories are living history. When when you think about it, kids can switch on and get direct first-person observation, a witness of what happened. And we're losing that.
Yes, and what was beautiful for Herbert, he did one of those interviews when he first came out. You can see he's terrified and he's reliving the whole thing. But instead of a kid just being able to watch him tell his story, they can come up to him and open up what's going on for them. The first time Herbert spoke, a teenage girl came up to him and said, I was writing a goodbye letter to my parents. I was going to take my life, and then I heard you speak. And he got her help. So that's kind of what was the power of that man, and one that Janine had the foresight to now put that message into a wider audience by keeping him alive through the film.
Fantastic. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Both of you did.
Thank you.
It's really remarkable.
Thank you.
But the trees.
Yes. Yes. So where Herbert chose to live is kind of a magical place full of these massive redwood trees and very different than the stark landscape of Auschwitz. And he had a store where he sold cribs and things for children, and he would go to the circus every year and Disneyland every year. And so the kids, the teenagers there, when they go to hang out, they don't go out to a field or something, they go there to the redwood trees.
Wow.
And when he goes to sort of help this girl or rescue her at a certain point, that's where he finds her in the grove of redwood trees. And just the title struck me because, not only because of the redwood trees themselves, but as I was saying, there are heroes and giants living among us. Certainly the people, not only the ones that survived the war, but the ones who did heroic acts to help the others survive. Were heroics,
And
giants.
those stories are being revealed to this day, you know. People have,
Yeah.
it's not only the Schindler
Yeah,
monumental story, which was amazing,
yeah,
but it's like stories like your friend there. I mean,
Yes.
remarkable.
yes.
But we're glad that you did this. This is something everybody should take a look at for sure.
Thank you.
And not only for the trees, but for the story behind it.
Yes, thank you. And it should be in theaters this spring.
Wonderful.
But we've loved being here at the festival.
We're proud to have you here.
Thank
So
you
have
so
a great
much.
time. Again, Avenue of the Giants.
It's got Stephen Lang and Elsie Fisher and Robin Wiegert. Stephen Lang, of course, from Avatar and
wow.
Don't Breathe, and Elsie Fisher from 8th grade.
Can you get some names in this thing or no? That's great, terrific. 102 minutes, which is good. Plenty of time for popcorn and to relax and all that
Yes.
other stuff. So, and you had the world premiere here.
We did,
great.
and it was great because they were both screenings were sold out, but the second one, even more people were trying to crush in, even though it was rainy at 11 a.m. And that's always a good sign for a film that the word of mouth spreading.
This town, the questions from the audience are unbelievable.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's unreal.
It was very emotional for people, and at the end of the screening, the questions were almost people sharing their stories because so many people had relatives that experienced this.
A lot of them, you know, the older group, they were part of the thing.
Yes,
You know, you have
yes.
quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dwindling number, but
Yeah.
they're out there.
I mean, we met multiple people whose parents were there.
Wonderful. Great story. Go
Thank
see
you.
it. Avenue of the Giants, and it's well worth it. It won't let you down. We're fortunate to have the filmmaker here, Ruchi Mittal, Ruchi like Gucci, Ruchi, and the film is East Coast premiere. This World Is Not My Own, and it's a documentary feature. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think it's great that you're here, and you brightened up the place. It's terrific.
Better than that story
I know.
yesterday.
Oh, it was something else. But so tell me a little bit about this movie. You're the screenwriter and also the producer and general, you know, the general force behind the movie. But what brought you to this movie?
So this film is a documentary about a self-taught artist named Nellie Mae Rowe. And Nellie Mae Rowe lived and worked in the Atlanta area. She was born in 1900, died in 1982, and was just one of those people who was compelled to make things. You know, anything that she could get her hands on and find, she'd turn it into something
Like a
incredible.
folk art look?
Correct. She would be in that category of folk art, you know, anything she found. And her home actually became one of her greatest works of art. It was known as the Playhouse. And she just adorned it with things she made and dolls and toys, and people would stop from all over to come see her, this amazing place. So I've been always drawn to making work about people who make things. I find it so fascinating where that creative spirit comes from. And the directors, Marquise and Petter, I think similarly, we have this, we like films about creative underdogs. And that's sort of how we see Nellie Mae Rowe, and we felt like her work really needed to be known by a wider audience, not just
Showcased.
totally, not just the folk art niche world, but like a general audience.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, this area you're in East Hampton, probably has more artists per square inch, as well as lawyers and, you know, other people.
We need them to make movies too.
I know. They're good guys and bad guys and everybody.
That's right.
But the whole idea of this, and to sort of go behind the curtain and look at what the artist is about, is always fascinating, because people know the art,
Right.
and they say, well, what motivated the person to make this,
Yeah.
and what's the story about? How did they grow up, and
Yeah.
what type of kids were they? What
Right.
and do they have children? Do they are their children as creative as they are?
Right.
And those are questions that always come up, and it's something that if you're an artist or not, it's something that fascinates people. It's a great subject matter, and but that drew you to the story.
Yeah, her talent, her creativity, and then the other thing I was really interested in, we took a pretty unique approach. Like, this is a documentary, but because, she was a black, female, self-taught artist from the South, there's not a lot of photos and videos and the normal things that you would use to make a film.
Sure.
So we had this creative challenge of how do we tell this story without those
Family
things.
around?
She's long gone. Her friend and gallerist, Judith, is long gone. They're great nieces and nephews. She herself didn't have children. She felt like God put her here with her talent. She was the only one of her 7 sisters who didn't have children.
Wow.
But
But
so
her
so we
art survived.
her art survived. It's actually, there's a big collection in the High Museum in Atlanta. There are some works in the Smithsonian and in New York at the Met. But anyway, I was drawn to the fact that we had this challenge of how do we tell this story without those things. And so I think we found something very creative. Sort of in her artistic spirit, we decided to reimagine her world. And so we built these sets out of cardboard and very whimsical paper, popcorn, sugar bottles. We built these sets.
Wow.
And then we had the actress Uzo Aduba, you might know from Orange is the New
Sure,
Black.
sure.
She played Nellie Mae Rowe. So we had a motion capture camera that captured her facial expressions, her body movements, her voice.
Brilliant.
We mapped that onto a 3D animation. So there's these segments in the film where you get to go into this whimsical animated
But you
world.
actually get to see her.
Yeah, so you get to connect with
How
her.
cool is that?
I think it's great.
Unbelievable. It's amazing. And your training, were you a film school person or you self-taught? How did you do this?
I definitely don't think you have to go to film school. My background is as a writer. I went to NYU as well, like you, and I studied English. But later, I realized I was really interested in documentaries, and I was just a person who needs deadlines and structure, and so I went to the new school and did media studies there. But everything I really learned is just by doing it.
Well, absolutely. It's it's still a thing where as a journeyman or woman, you
Yes.
sort of pick up a camera and you do it. You
Right.
say, how do I load this thing? What do I?
Sink or swim,
Right. We've been doing this since 1996,
Wow.
and I was telling somebody yesterday, one of the prizes that they would give the young filmmakers was from Kodak several cans of film.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing was titles from this title house.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I mean, if you're a kid with an iPhone, you don't
Yeah.
need film, you don't need a title house.
you can do
Just
that
go
all.
and shoot your movie and come back, in
Yeah.
a half hour with your movie and let me know. But for the craft, it's obvious that you love what you do, which is great, and I think that it's wonderful. So this world is not my own, and a documentary feature, East Coast premiere was here, and distribution, where is it going to be seen with people at home?
Sure. So we don't have distribution yet. We've been doing the festival
If you're at
tour.
home and you have a checkbook, no distribution, contact her, please.
Please do. You can send a blank one. No, we premiered at South by Southwest. We've been we were at Hot Docs in Toronto. We screened in Atlanta. So actually, the night before I came here, we had our Swedish premiere in Stockholm. So I literally jumped on a plane and came right out to the Hamptons because I didn't want to miss this. So it is traveling around. So hopefully, wherever you are, you'll be able to catch it at a festival. And then hopefully...
Do you have a website?
Yes, thisworldisnotmyown.com.
Can't be any easier than that.
No.
That's terrific. A Revolution on Canvas. I'm here with the director, co-director, and co-screenwriter, right? Sarah Nujumi. And she and her husband, Till Schauder, did this beautiful project, documentary feature, and it's here. We're happy to have it. Thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about the film first.
Sure. I like to call it part art heist thriller, part personal documentary. The film is about my father. We are Iranian. He's a painter, and he's a controversial painter. His work has been critical of different regimes for decades. And in 1980, after the Islamic Revolution in Iran, he had a huge exhibition of his work at the Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art. First week of the show, the hardliners come in to take a look at the show. They call the work blasphemous. They call him a traitor. He has to leave the country. So all the work stays in the museum. 45
He
years.
lost his work.
45 years later, we try to retrieve the work from the Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art. So the story of the film is about, that's the through line of the film, is trying to retrieve that work. And in the meantime, we learn about him as an artist, as a father, as an immigrant, as an Iranian immigrant, as a husband. We learn about my mother, who's also a painter, and their relationship, and how this activism and commitment to art and all this stuff affected their relationship, basically.
So are you an artist as well?
I'm a filmmaker.
Well, that's an art.
Okay.
But your dad must be very influential. I mean, he's and courageous. I mean, the guy, it must have been heartbreaking to lose all his work.
It is. It's heartbreaking, and the work is only the tip of the iceberg of what he lost, and it's only the tip of the iceberg of what like all immigrants lose when they're forced to leave their country, right? Family, mother, siblings, country, life, homeland, language, all of it. The work is really the easiest of it all.
Right. And also to be cast in especially by the people that are uninformed, to be cast in a light, oh yeah, they're Iranian, so,
Right.
there's a hell of a prejudice against the Iranian people. It's
Exactly.
terrible.
And especially in 1980, after he returned, or after he basically had to leave the country, as artists, my parents had a very difficult time selling their work. Nobody gave a rat's ass about Iranian artists.
Right.
After the hostage crisis, after the revolution, there's no chance.
None. It's pitiful. It really is. And everybody's cast into one, because I guess it's more convenient to be that prejudicial than it is to, have a head on your shoulders and say, wait a minute, he's an artist. He's not.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, unfortunately, in America, all over the world, people don't understand nuance, right? Like,
No.
and so you lump everyone together,
Right.
and part of our project is to kind of say, like, immigrants are not, everyone has a story. And when you understand what their stories are, maybe you have a little more empathy.
And basically, we're all immigrants.
Right,
Nobody
exactly.
says, hey, unless you're a Shinnecock, down the road, that their land got ripped off. I mean, we're all, passing through here.
Right.
But, it's really amazing. It's a great story, and obviously you and your husband have a great collaboration, that you work together and you do beautiful work. Great response from the movie, and it's something that do you have others in the pipeline that are going to come forward?
We do. We have a couple of other projects that we're working on, getting funding. This film was kind of in the middle of our filmmaking process. We got HBO on board, which was like a stroke of luck.
It's a home run.
It's a home run to be able to make this film with someone like HBO. I never really thought this had commercial potential. You know what I mean? But they they put their faith in it, and I appreciate that a lot.
And I think popular. I mean, the response, popular-wise, I think it's there. So it's well worthwhile. Now, your dad, is he still with us?
Yeah, he's here. He's actually at the Hamptons. I should have brought him.
Oh yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It's really,
But he's been at the screenings, and he's good. He's working.
and his work, the stuff that's in the Tehran Museum and everything. Is there any likelihood of it being liberated or not?
You got to see the film.
know. No, but I mean, like it begs the question. Say, my God, I mean, how could they take somebody's art? The artist is still alive, but
No, it's it'll be a long road. And
is he still in jeopardy if you know
he can't go to Iran. We can't go to Iran. No,
any family left in Iran?
no, unfortunately, just a couple of distant cousins and things like that.
But that's amazing. So he had to be all totally uprooted. And lost.
Yeah, I mean, his family, it's a sad story with his siblings. A lot of them have passed for different reasons, but they were mostly in Iran. And so he uprooted, came to the U.S., at the absolute worst time, 1980.
Oh, God.
So it was a bit of a mess. That he,
But
yeah.
you survived,
Yeah, he survived and
and he's thriving.
he's thriving.
Does he still make art?
Yes, absolutely. He still
Okay.
makes art, and his art is in different museum collections now. It's at the Metropolitan, at
terrific.
the British
That's
Museum.
terrific.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. You have a great dad and
Thanks.
a great daughter to tell the story.
thank you.
We're lucky that we have Ethan with us, and Ethan is the Ethan Goldman of the Ethan Goldman Group.
Anchor Entertainment.
Anchor Entertainment,
Yeah,
terrific.
yeah.
And he's responsible, one of the people responsible for the world premiere documentary feature. They call him Mostly Harmless. Yeah, that's like an intriguing title. It makes you want to think. So just give a little thumbnail sketch about what the movie's about.
Sure. So Mostly Harmless was the trail name of a hiker, someone who did the Appalachian Trail. He completed it and then did an offshoot into Florida and ended up dead in his tent despite having a lot of cash and food nearby. He was 5 minutes from the highway, but he ended up emaciated there, and they couldn't figure out who he was because, unlike most people, he didn't have an ID, he didn't have a cell phone, he didn't have credit cards. And so Wired reported a story on it, and I contacted the writer, who is now the editor-in-chief, the CEO of The Atlantic. He's an old friend. He wrote this story because he was bewildered by the idea of how someone in
Just
this
fall
day and
off the
age could live anonymously in plain sight. And it was sort of this real mystery that then these web sleuths went out to solve. It took them 2 years and a miracle of science, but they did end up finding out who he was. And once he was identified, he was very different from the person who people thought they met on the trail.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I hope you can make it tonight.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing. It's and that brought you to the story because of this intrigue, right?
Exactly. It was one of those that it was the trifecta of modern tech, right? You had web sleuthing, online web sleuths. You had crowdfunding that ended up bringing together the money to essentially do this DNA decoding. And then you had, what is this DNA analysis, which is the thing that allows all of us to understand who we are as
right?
connected to the rest of our
Amazing.
species.
Absolutely amazing. You never really get lost if you have the DNA trail, right?
That's right, and they didn't have any DNA trail until they actually took his DNA, and this company called Othram, based in Houston, did a reverse coding and found out that he was of Cajun ancestry from New Orleans, and then found cousins and people who could say, yes, that in fact is this person, whose name I am not going to reveal
Don't
because
reveal
that
it.
is,
No,
yeah,
that's part of the mystery here.
yes.
So this is great. And your background, did you go to film school?
I
or-
didn't. I went to a small school outside of Boston, a liberal arts college called Tufts.
Oh, nice.
I did a film internship. Wasn't quite sure if that's what I wanted to do, but eventually came to New York City, came up through Viacom CBS,
Sure, we know
MTV
that,
networks in the late 90s, and ended up finding a love for documentary filmmaking.
And you have a great team with you. We met
I have an
some of-
amazing team. This,
Yeah.
look, this is
is
the
a team. Come
In
on
fact,
around,
I'm,
team.
I'm just a little rung on the. This is the leader, the fearless leader,
Fearless leader.
You're a leader.
Trish
We're all leaders.
Gillespie.
Trish
Hi.
Gillespie.
The film.
Hi. So nice to meet you again.
Amazing.
Trish just came off of an Emmy win for her last film that also premiered here,
Wow.
The Fire That Took Her.
Yeah,
Well, the
Hamptons
fire
has
that
been
took you. Wow.
so
This
great.
is a lucky place for you to be, right?
It sure is. I absolutely love it here.
Well, we're
so.
lucky to have you here.
I don't know about that. we'll
You
see
are.
how we'll
We
see
are.
how tonight goes.
It's terrific. But he was telling us about this amazing story. Such, it involves DNA, it involves sleuthing and all this other stuff.
Crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. And this guy is amazing that, a guy like that can kind of go in between the cracks. And, his existence really is, you kind of kept him alive, more or less.
Well, what's really cool, and Trish can speak to this better than I can, is that it really isn't about him in the end. It's about the women who were identifying him, who were trying to connect him with his family. And Trish has this great line about the film.
Oh, is it a great
It
line?
is a
I
great
mean,
line.
the way I think about it is it's a movie about finding yourself when you're looking for somebody else.
Yes.
Right.
And a lot of, at least what fascinated me about it was this deeper look into the true crime community and what's really behind the people that are so passionate about this
Well,
type of
You see
storytelling.
it on TV and all that other stuff. When you actually see it, like in your documentary, it's really amazing. It's an amazing story. Something
Thanks.
that, some poor guy that kind of fell through the cracks. But, there's a whole, and now the technology today is not what it was like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because, family said, oh yeah, that's my uncle, or that's my dad, or
Our consulting producer who wrote the piece for Wired said he didn't even think this could happen a year ago because of the advent of AI. They could have done all these composites
Sure,
and said,
sure.
oh, this is who it is. And then you would have immediately figured out that he was identifiable. But that was sort of the end of a technological era, but still fascinating that he was living in plain sight.
Well, that's what they were saying about
anonymously.
the unknown soldier, in
sure.
Washington. That today, that really no one is unknown. I mean, if God forbid something happens, they can kind of reconstruct who it is.
Yeah, autosomal DNA. So one of the companies that features in the film is called Othram, and they're sort of on the leading edge of autosomal DNA, which a lot of the DNA that we're used to hearing about in Law and Order and stuff like that is used to confirm an identity. So yes, this is the person. No, this isn't the person. But
Right.
autosomal DNA has all of this additional information
So
in
they
it about
can
where you're from,
reconstruct,
who your relatives are. I mean, your fourth, fifth cousin. That really helps narrow it down and discover who people are. But there's still, at any given time in this country, there's 30,000 unidentified people waiting to get their names back. So we're lucky
Wow.
to have companies like Othram to
No, it is,
help
and
figure that
people
out.
are frightened about it because they think, oh, it's probably some group that is harvesting DNA, and when I go for my Visa card, I'm going to be rejected because of my DNA or something like that. But there's an incredible beneficial aspect to it, and certainly if you were raised and you were an orphan, you have no idea of who your biological parents are or were. It's very helpful, and
Yeah.
it gives people it completed their background, and we're all tender beings here. We want to know as much as we can, and
Yeah.
we're very egotistical, so you want to know, like, if you're Elvis's son, you want to know about that, right?
Yeah, well, I think the evolution of the DNA testing really blew the lid off a lot of family secrets.
I know.
Oh, that's true too.
I know. I have in my wife's family that happened quite.
Everyone knows someone.
Yeah,
whose life
it's
has
really
changed.
amazing. And all of a sudden, like these guys that her cousins, they were like four brothers. All of a sudden, had a sister somewhere that the dad never even realized it. was after his death that she came forward, and it was because of, I think, ancestry that she.
Sure, yeah.
And that's not nearly as complex as what you guys have with this.
We hope you come tonight.
Well, we will. But this is amazing. Enjoy your
you.
stay
Thank
here.
you so
We're
much.
very proud of you. It's an intriguing story. Go look for it. It is called They Call Him Mostly Harmless, world premiere documentary feature, 89 spellbinding minutes. So
Yeah.
bring popcorn, right?
Absolutely.
I think you
Popcorn
can
is
get it there. I think you can get the
Oh, you
popcorn there.
can.
You should.
I'm going to say at a reasonable price.
At a
but-
reasonable price.
And you, the consumer, the person at home, should be able to see this on Max in early 2024.
If you'd like more information on the Hamptons Film Festival, visit their website at hamptonsfilmfest.org.